I'm going to remove my spotlight only because even though Columbo, it's the right thing to do. I don't like
Mm,
having that much Carissa. So I'm spotlight so we can all see each other. What we're going to do today is what I hope will be a very interactive and hopefully very calming time together where we get to pause and reflect together as a community with this idea of mindset being a muscle. I'm going to remove my spotlight again. Sorry, Columbo. I know I'm misbehaving because I want us to all see each other as we start. So here's what I'm going to ask us to do. If you're able to turn your camera on so that we can be together. And I am going to ask us just some opening questions that get us into the mindset to be thinking about mindset as a muscle. In the context of the SLAP methodology, there are these four key concepts. The first is that commitment is a choice. We're not going to talk about that today, but it's a really critical one, right? Commitment is actually the first step to success of any kind. So, commitment is a choice. Profit is a skill. We're actually going to do a Silver Summit in the future later on this year about the fact that profit is not some elusive, magical, weird, random thing. It's a skill. Building a profitable, sustainable business is a skill that we hope SLAP is teaching you, but we're going to do a whole Silver Summit on it in a couple of months. Success is science. Success is not magic and confusing, and it happens to some and not to others. There's actually real science to how to build habits that create success. And then ultimately, wrapped around all of that, mindset is a muscle. And so that's what we're going to spend all of our time together on is what does it mean that mindset is a muscle? And what are the reps, for lack of a better word, another way of thinking of it, that we can all do to build a strong mindset? So we're going to really get into this concept of mindset as a muscle, as a core component of the conversation today. But I am going to be like a personal trainer, not a speaker today. We're actually going to practice the reps of building our mindset so that we don't just sit here and 2 hours later, leave with a bunch of information. That my hope is that we've actually built a stronger mindset so that 2 hours from now, we are actually living from the place of a stronger mindset. We will have built our mindset muscles together. So, with that being said, as we open, I'm going to give us three opening questions, three prompts to think about. A sign of a strong mindset is the ability to actually create calm and peace and groundedness, regardless of circumstance. What we're going to talk about quite a bit today is the idea that our external circumstances are inevitably going to be unreliable, unpredictable, sometimes very challenging, sometimes even very good. And if we sort of live at the whim of our circumstances, our mindset has no hope. But if we can build a mindset that is so strong and so solid, we are able to metabolize the external pressures, good, bad, happy, or sad, that come at us. So we're actually going to put 5 minutes on the clock in a second. I'm going to give you the three prompts. And it is a strong mindset is in many ways about having discipline. So what's going to happen in those 5 minutes is I'm going to ask you to just ponder the three questions that I'm going to pose. What you're going to probably want to do is answer emails frantically in the background, run and get three errands done because you think you can turn your camera off and you've got these like bonus 5 minutes, quickly manage a text message that's coming in, quickly do this, quickly do that. And I'm going to ask you if the whole idea of being in this room is to practice building mindset, right? And thinking of mindset as a muscle. I'm going to ask you to participate. I'm going to ask you to give it a shot. Because at the end of the day, what I hope I can convince you of by the time we leave this room later today is that the number one thing that you need as a business owner is indeed a strong mindset. Because the mindset is what carries you through a good quarter, a bad quarter, a good year, a bad year, a day that you're so excited because you closed your biggest deal ever, or the day that is so overwhelming because you think you're on the brink of bankruptcy, right? And everything in between. And so mindset is what you do have control over when you have no control over circumstances that are coming at you. So I am going to challenge you to take it seriously, including the silver lining team members in the room, and actually do the pause for 5 full minutes. And there's all sorts of things that are going to happen in those 5 minutes that we'll explore after it's done. As Columbo gets the clock ready, and Columbo, why don't we, let's not start it yet. I'm trying to think if we play music or if we're quiet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type into the chat the 3 things I want us to be thinking about in this 5 minute pause, this 5 minute pause and reflect. So number one, what are all the feelings you are feeling? Oftentimes in a 5 minute pause, we go through a series of emotions, a series of feelings. So just actually pay attention to those, right? What does your mind want to tell you about doing nothing for 5 minutes? What does your mind, what's the story that it's offering you? What are the feelings it's creating in you and your natural response to it? Number two, right, outside of these 5 minutes, how is your mindset, right? Sometimes I think of my mindset as my friend. How's she doing? How are they? Is my mindset doing okay? Having a good day, a bad day? Is it good? Is it bad? Right? What's going on? How is your mindset? What's going on with it? How's it doing? Just big picture, what do you think your mindset is doing? And then the third thing I just want us to think about, ponder. Again, you can't pass or fail. There's no right or wrong answer, but just sort of ponder, right? What are you doing right now that is either building a strong mindset, right, or a weak mindset? And I don't love, for the record, the words strong and weak. I think they come with lots of associations. So maybe during our time together today, we can come up with better adjectives. But maybe it's a peaceful mindset, a resilient mindset, a grounded mindset, right? Versus maybe a chaotic or a ungrounded and unsteady mindset. That's probably a better way of thinking of it than strong and weak. Because it's not about being good or bad, but it's about acknowledging sort of the state of this thing. What I want to just remind you as you start thinking about these 3 questions, or what I want to offer you, right? If you think about, like, let's say you want to build, right, like your triceps, a muscle here, right? If you currently have really, really, really good muscle definition, you've probably been doing reps, right, over and over and over again for a significant period of time to earn that strong muscle, right? And if your muscle is really, really, really flabby right now, it's probably just because you haven't been doing any reps. And so, of course, it is. If it's really, really, really flabby, that does not mean it can never be strong, right? It just means you haven't been doing the reps. So, again, I don't like the words I use, strong and weak, because I think it applies judgment. It's more about evaluating the current state, right? Are there reps that are happening that are building it, or is there a lack of reps that are allowing it to lose its muscle strength, its muscle memory, its muscle definition? Does that make sense? Does that feel like it's clear? Okay. So 3 questions. What are all the feelings you're feeling? Let them happen. Outside of these 5 minutes, how's your mindset, right? How do you feel your mindset is doing? And what are you doing right now in general that's either helping you build that strong, defined mindset, grounded, clear, steady, and or, right, what are you not doing, or what are things that may be taking away from that strong mindset? And we're just going to think for 5 minutes. Any questions before we start? No? Okay. I will offer this to you. I believe that all of us as humans need outside accountability and support. I am very tempted to check my phone and write emails in a 5 minute pause because I feel like there's all these things happening. But I put my hands in the air during these 5 minute pauses to hold myself accountable to not being busy in the background. So if you are someone that is going to struggle to actually stay in this moment, I encourage you to create accountability for yourself visibly by putting your hands up or wrapping them around a cup, right? Something that just allows for a physical accountability to it. And if you're a silver lining team member in the room, absolutely in every way do this. Be fully present in it. All right, Columba, let's get that 5 minutes going. Okay. So by a show of emojis, who thought that was torture? Hands up. The 5 minutes felt like they were never going to end. Hand up or emoji. All right. I see the hands. I see it. Okay. And who could have kept going for another 20? Who just like settled in and could have kept going? Hands up. Okay. I see you all. So here's the thing that's so interesting about that exercise. Every time I do it, I have a different emotional response to it. Sometimes, like today, actually, I was beautifully pleased to see, like, oh my God, I'm having the best time just hanging out here, thinking to myself, pausing, reflecting. I could have hung out there for another hour. I was just loving my life. I did it 3 weeks ago and I was in agony. I just wanted it over. It couldn't end. It just kept going and going and going. So there is something about taking that pause that helps us identify where we're at right now in this moment in our mindset. So let's hear from I do like that you pulled over Yummy because it could have had you gotten really into the zone, it could have been very dangerous. So I'm glad you pulled over. Chandra, I'm seeing you say it became hard when the last song came on. Oh, that's interesting, right? It became this like interjection, right? Our brains think that we should sing along, right? That's a great example of how external circumstance comes in and so easily takes and hijacks our mindset. That's a great example, actually. I love the example of like the physical example of pulling over. I was driving somewhere and I pulled over to the side of the road just for 5 minutes to pause and reflect. And now I can get back on the road, right? There's actually like really beautiful life analogies in these examples that you guys are giving, which is really, really, really good. So let's take three people. What came up for you in those 5 minutes and in the prompts to those questions? If you are willing to share, maybe raise your hand. And then I want to take us somewhere from here. But I always think it's so interesting to hear how other people are going through or experiencing something that we're all doing together in community. So let's get Yemi first before she starts driving again. Oh, it looks like she may be driving. But Yemi, why don't you come off first and tell us what came up for you? What was your experience?
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Very good.
Wonderful. Thank you. So initially, what came up for me was, oh no, I'm driving. Um, and I actually text one of my friends who brought me into the program and asked if she could take notes for me so I wouldn't miss anything. And she texted me and said, stay still and do the exercise. But I
Uh,
realized that she was telling me what the exercise was.
uh,
What I processed was go be still. So I pulled over and and started to think about like how my mindset is. I have a very strong mindset, but I'm also ADHD. And so sometimes it wavers and I get distracted. And I said to myself, I joined this community so that I can build my mindset. So what I'm doing is being here and being present and learning and holding myself accountable for this space. I'm holding myself accountable. And I have other accountability partners now that are not a part of the community yet, but will be, that I've been introducing to this, that's holding me accountable. This is when I have a meeting. Please remind me because I am air. And how do I do this? I'm nervous and excited. Those are feelings that came up, about the 5 minutes and about where my mindset is outside of the 5 minutes. I have a lot of nerves about it because starting is the hard part, but once I get started, I prosper, I push through and I go. And so this is me starting. And, I am working on making sure I'm on time, and I'm working on making sure I tend to self so that I can tend to my business. And so I thank you, Payasha.
Ah,
She's amazing. So
she
I'm
is
just grateful for
amazing.
this space and grateful for learning. And I'm here, and I do need someone to stay on top of me because I do get distracted, but I'm working on how to have less distraction.
I love everything you said. One, thank you for sharing, first of all. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you pulled over and did it with us. And it's worth saying out loud. I also love that you sort of just said so clearly, I'm ADHD. It's something I manage. One of the reasons that mindset is such a significant conversation for business owners, I'm dyslexic. I'm sure I'm also ADHD, although I've never been diagnosed. Neurodivergence is incredibly correlated, incredibly common to entrepreneurship and creativity and business ownership. And I think we've been taught by the world, and because we don't talk about it enough, that somehow it's a disadvantage. But when we embrace outside structure and support to help us with all the things that you are saying so clearly and so well, it's a magic power too. So I just want to say out loud, right? There's probably many of us in the room that have varying degrees of neurodivergence, brains that operate in all sorts of creative and interesting and funky ways. Of course we do, or else we would never have started a business. And let's think of that as a superpower and then embrace that building this strong mindset and having lots of structure and support is what allows for that beautiful, brain of ours to function at the highest and best level. So I just want to say that out loud as well, because it's so, so common in our community. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So we want to learn how to manage it, optimize it, and get lots of outside structure and support and unleash it to be all that it can be. Okay, let's go next to Sharon. Sharon Carey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Um, there's a few things going on what's this Monday? This is Thursday. Tuesday, I quit 5 times.
Yeah,
I
you
just
could you
I
you
quit
could tell me
five.
that it's Friday in November of 2037, and I believe you this week. So whatever day you think it is fine. That works.
Yeah, I quit 5 times on Tuesday. I had like a 4-hour pity party with the violin and everything.
Oh, that
I
violin can be so
yeah,
compelling, can't
that
it?
that little, and I did that. So I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and I started working, is how I was like, enough. It's unacceptable. And so I pulled myself up and I started working. So at this point, I'm at peace. I'm focused on what I have to do. I talked to Sasha yesterday and she beat me up. And it was fine, and I needed it. Sometimes you just need to get beat up and told what you already know. So I knew that and I accepted it. And so right now I'm trying to, my mindset is focus, just keep focused, keep that goal in mind. And I also focusing on my spiritual things. I remember reading a text in James 1, 5 through 7. He says that you ask God, but if you don't ask in faith, he's not going to give you anything. So stop doubting. You've already asked for it,
Mm,
believe it, and keep it moving.
mm. Thank you, Sharon. I love the honesty of, like, yesterday I was out. It was the worst. And today I'm back on the horse and I'm going to keep going, right? Because again, that's part of building a resilient mindset, right? A good mindset is not a fantasy land where everything is always perfect. A good mindset has the resilience to bounce back. It has the ability to say, I'm having a terrible day. I am not enjoying my life. This is not a good situation. But a good mindset doesn't stay there. It sits there, it acknowledges it, it feels it, and then it has the ability to activate whatever internal and external structure and support we need. Right. I love that you said I talked to Sasha, right? I got a different point of view. I built in some infrastructure, right? And today's a new day. That's a critical point that we're going to really play with today. A strong mindset does not mean everything's okay. because it's not okay. The world's a mess. It's unjust. It's going to probably get worse. The economy is uncertain. We've got politics going on in every country around the world. We've got economic and political and technology trends that are confusing. We've got mental health going through the roof. We've got physical health issues everywhere. We've got parents and kids and loved ones that are sick. Everything's not okay. A good mindset isn't lying. A good mindset is resilient enough to handle that truth and to have a bad day and to fall apart and to figure out how to come back. That's what we're going to figure out today together. That's what we're going to practice. That's what the reps are going to be. So, Sharon, I love that you brought that in. I had a crappy day yesterday. It was not a good day. And today, here I am, right? That's a strong mindset. Strong mindsets are not good all the time. Strong mindsets come back. They get back. That's a good, strong mindset. That's what I want for all of us. Not living in fairyland, but the ability to keep coming back. So thank you, Sharon. Natalia, how about you?
Good morning. So maybe it was the moon or for the woo-woo people. Also in full breakdown, day before yesterday, still feeling it. I was invited by the State Department to participate in this program where I host an international fellow. And I was like, yes. And then I questioned myself and the imposter syndrome snuck up on me. And I'm still getting teary about it, right? And the question was in the 5 minutes, what came up for me. So when I pose this question, I always go to thoughts, emotions, and sensations in my body, right? What am I experiencing? And it's fun to observe the mind because I went from being anxious to eager to move to getting on with my day. I want to produce. I'm excited. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm feeling like a failure. I feel like a fraud. I'm feeling inspired. I'm feeling excited. So I take it like those 5 minutes were really good to reconnect me to what I already know, which is that I have monkeys that want to say things to me and get my attention.
I love monkeys.
And that I get to, put them all back in their barrel. The second question, my response was mostly steady with mild dis-ease about income, right? Just the pace at which it's not happening for me. The first quarter, even though I've been very connected to my goals and I'm revisiting them every day, which is the answer to question number 3, I still feel like no matter how much I'm doing and how focused I am on beingness, I'm not having it happen, right? So then that's what's triggering the fear, the failure, the not good enough, and the other thoughts that are coming up. And so how I'm building a resilient mindset is by requesting and receiving support. So I do have people that I'm like, okay, I need 15 minutes because I'm in breakdown. And they hold me high. They remind me of my greatness. It's people that have watched my journey. I call her big sister. She's my art director. And she's been with me since I started being an interior designer, that I just left corporate America with no safety net. And seeing how effective that is. But I'm also opening myself up to learning from videos and to participating in online stuff because I've been a no since COVID. Like, absolutely not. And also just going to the gym, moving my body, and then revisiting. Like, I took my goals for the year and I put them in an actual binder so that I can flip through it and have a tangible thing that I'm revisiting every day.
Awesome. It's
not this thing in my computer anymore that I can put a Post-it on and I can take committed action. How can I move the needle today? And so being responsive, accountable, and urgent. And I'm complete. And I think that my person, Victor, who I've had a few conversations with, said that you use the word immediacy. I don't know, I have it as urgency, but I think they offered me immediacy, which I think they're both really great.
Really good words.
Yeah.
I love the word urgent because urgent doesn't have to be chaotic.
Agreed.
But it does indicate like I gotta go, right? And I would argue that being successful is an urgent state, right?
Yeah.
There's always something to urgently accomplish and get to. And so I love your words, Natalia, actually. I think they're
Thank you.
really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like urgency from the space of there's lots of people that didn't wake up today. And so I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow. Let me be urgent and really be focused on what am I committed to creating in my life, in my relationships, and in my business today, right now.
So I feel so called to like do a small divergence. I'm not going to go too far off track. But
Okay.
Natalia, as you were talking about money and profit, and then Kristen, I saw your comment in chat. The Profit is a Skill Silver Summit is going to be 3 full hours, and we are going to go deep in the skill of building profit. Colombo, could we just put in chat the exact day that it is? Anyone that wants you guys to auto sign you up for it, I think it's in May. But just heart his message in chat and he'll go into Slap Center and just auto RSVP you guys for it. The Profit is a Skill session is going to be very, very, very good. What I'm going to say is there's 3 things I want to say about Profit is a Skill and Mindset is a Muscle in this moment. The first is the economy is very weird right now. And the economy has been very weird since COVID. And there are weird industries and moments and months where money seems to be flowing so freely that doesn't make sense to me. And then there are industries and months and moments and like where nothing is moving at all. And it is just so number one, it is a very weird geoeconomic moment. And if you feel like something in your business feels different than it did before, it is. So I just want to normalize that, right? It is indeed weird and funky and unknown and unclear. And so if you feel all those things, you're not crazy. It's true. Okay, so that's number one. The second thing is in every single market, every single economic climate, there is opportunity. But one of the things that we're going to talk a lot about in Profit as a Skill is do you need to rethink how you sell what you sell, not what you do. I don't believe in changing your slap statement in weird economic moments, good, bad, happy, sad. But I do believe that when economy and global trends are changing, we may have to change how we do what we do. So in the context of slap, that would mean you don't change your what, but you might change your revenue streams. So a lot of the Profit as a Skill conversation will be an evaluation of how you sell what you sell, the things you sell, the price point, the costs around it, how you deliver it. Because there's often, when the world changes, we have to change with it. And often the most targeted and efficient and effective strategic thing to change is your revenue stream. So I'll just give you that clue. Look at your revenue stream. Do you need to sell what you sell differently, at a different price point, in a different way, through a different medium, at a different price point, with a different delivery mechanism? It's in this deep evaluation of revenue streams that we almost always find a path to something moving, something kind of breaking open. The third thing that I'll say about Profit as a Skill is that when things are uncertain and or funky, as I feel like the world is right now, then it requires a serious amount of tenacity because there's still opportunity out there. We might just have to try more angles or do more things or give it a different go. And that's where mindset comes in. I've said probably 1,000 times in the last 3 months, I've been in business for 19 years. I have never worked so hard to get so little done. Like it's just an annoying moment in the world. And so mindset is even more important because we got to double down on having the resilience to keep going, even though it may feel a little more discouraging than normal, right? If I sort of let myself get my violin out that Sharon talked about, which by the way, my violin gets lots of little playing. My violin also has its moments. It's hard. It's hard right now. I mean, that's the reality. It's hard to be a business leader right now. It's hard to find revenue. It's hard to build a business right now. So mindset, doubling down on mindset is critical. So we'll keep coming back to talking about money and revenue even today. But at the root of building more profit, at the root of getting through hard quarters financially, the foundation is mindset, which is why we decided to start with mindset this year as our first Silver Summit. and then go to profit as a skill. And then the one in September is about how success is science. So we're sort of taking us through these deep dives of the methodology one step at a time. But I very intentionally started with mindset as a muscle, because at the base of everything, your mindset, we want to be resilient so that whatever comes our way, we can handle it. You guys are equipped for it. So, but we'll talk a lot more about all of those things as we go, a lot more. Okay, I see. Now I'm going to say this name wrong, I think. Beata Maslanka. There's a 99.9% chance I said that wrong. How do I say it right?
Well, you got it right. Woohoo!
Oh, I'm so happy.
Beata Maslanka. Yes, that's the English version, and yeah,
it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful name. Say it in the non-English version for all of us.
Oh, actually, that will work because Spanish-speaking people, yes, Beata Maslanka.
Beautiful. Spanish is so much prettier than English. It's a beautiful language. All right, tell us what came up for you.
Okay, yes. So this is right on because about like 1 o'clock I woke up with like my heart racing, and I felt very distressed, anxious, and yeah, I think the distress was the word. So and I knew I won't go back to sleep, so I got up and I took out my notebook and just wrote down how I felt, exactly the instructions you gave us today. And I got myself into a place where it felt better, and I fell asleep. Now, this morning when I woke up, I felt helpful, and I know that I have this schedule with you, and so it's like okay, I'm hopeful. I have the schedule. I know that I will get the next step. There you go. My mindset is I think it is resilient, because I do go. I mean, it could be more resilient, but I think that I'm getting there to be resilient and to bounce from place to place. Angie helped me. So I had a call with her on Monday, and then I was definitely overwhelmed, and she goes, "Go and take a vacation." And I'm like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Looking at my list. But I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying. So I didn't take a vacation, but I went to the gym. And that helped. I got myself into, again, a hopeful place, which for me, it's enough for now.
Yeah.
Hopeful. What was the third question? Oh, and what am I doing? What am I doing for myself? Okay, well, I have calls with Angie, with you guys, and then I have other structures set up to. Sometimes I have to crawl to it, but that's okay. And sometimes I jump and enjoy, which is great. But yeah. And then my resolve is to participate. So that's why I raised my hand, even I don't really know what to say, but obviously it was on point.
No, it's perfect. You do have a lot to say. And I think, I love the statement, my resolve is to participate. That's a strong mindset, right? I may be feeling in despair. I may be feeling overwhelmed. I may be having a good day or a bad day, but my resolve is to participate, right? To me, that is actually the definition of a strong mindset. I will participate in life. I will participate in structure and support. I will crawl my way to that thing I don't want to do, because I know it will help me, even if I have zero desire. I was saying to a friend of mine the other day that they asked me the number one lesson I feel like I've learned as a CEO after all these years. And I said that 95% of the things I must do and that are good for me and that are good for silver lining are the opposite of what I want to do. That my desires are very unreliable. That what I want is not really what I need. And so learning the discipline of, honoring my wants, not becoming so rigid that I never give myself what I want, but being able to intervene on myself to make sure I get what I need. That is probably the most significant lesson that I think I've learned. And so you just beautifully explained that concept. So it is wonderful that you said something. You had lots to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jennifer, you get the last word, and then I'm going to take us into some exercises where we're going to start building our reps. It's going to be fun.
So mine is almost more of a question, because as we were going through this, I just kept wanting to write down the thoughts that were coming up, or almost like journal my way through it. Because I've had a lot of overwhelm. I feel like I'm in the process of building resilience. SLAP is a big part of that, and just seeing how much work on that you need to do. But I guess my question is like that 5 minutes, is it different than journaling, or is that something that can be incorporated with that? Or can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So I think I'm a big believer in journaling. You'll see, you may have noticed that like about 4 minutes in, I was like, oh my God, I've got to write this thing down that's happening for me. And I took my pen out, I wrote it down. I'm a really big believer actually also in like free association, right? Sometimes our brains are not super reliable. They can be chaotic, but if you just write as you think, I think we get more structured thinking out of it. So what I do is I free associate write when I'm trying to arrive at a conclusion. When I'm trying to figure something out, I find writing to be incredibly helpful. It's almost like my brain and my pen guide me to an outcome that I know I have inside of me. I just can't find it in my cluttered brain. And then, but my instinct is to be very action oriented. And so for my brain, it's become very important to practice not writing, actually, holding my hands in the air, not letting myself do anything, and just being still. Because what I've also learned about myself is that when I'm really still for real, which is very hard for me, I get to so much clarity. It's almost like my visual of it is like, it's almost like all the little things like kind of just like disappear a little bit. And then like just my truth just is there. And then I'm like, oh, there I am. Like, hello, Carissa, nice to see you again. But I don't get to that moment if I'm writing. If I'm writing, I seem to get myself to an outcome. If I'm not doing anything, I seem to get back to me, if that makes sense. And I think there's a really, really important place for both of them. But I would say that they offer very similar, but nuanced differences. I don't know if that right. And again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer in what works for you. But I think it's fun to explore all the different forms of building our mindset, right? Journaling to get to clarity, nothing, just thinking to get to, unstructured, openness. Does that help though, Jennifer? Does that?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was kind of wondering not totally what the purpose was, but like how it differs, and if there is. So yes, you did answer that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things I say this, I mean, there's an irony in what I'm about to say, right? I'm the woman that literally designed something called the Silver Lining Action Plan, which is all about helping people take structured and focused and disciplined action to get to outcomes, right? And as the person that designed that, I am a massive believer in the concept of pausing and reflecting, that in order to be effective at structured and disciplined action, we need space to get completely out of action, like all the way out, right? Writing is an action. That's why I'm such a big believer of like hands in the air, like, okay, just nothing for a minute. And as business owners, we're also, busy. I don't believe in that word, but busy. That it's just so rare for us to do nothing. But there's also something symbolic about the practice of just being as opposed to doing that I think matters at a more philosophical level too. So that's more of the deeper insight into why I say don't do anything, just sit for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I want to walk you guys through something that will not take me more than truly like 5 minutes to show you guys. In an act of vulnerability and transparency, there is one slide I realized at about 5 minutes before this started that is incomplete. So we're just going to practice the idea that we operate as incomplete and imperfect humans building businesses. I will ask for your grace. I will do one incomplete slide amongst the other slides that are complete. But let me share my screen with you guys. And then we'll go through this quickly, and then we're going to go into some practice, into some work, and we're going to discuss the work as we go so that we can play with it, play with what it looks like to build a strong mindset. Can you guys see my screen okay? Yeah? Okay. So the idea that mindset is a muscle is this idea that it's a daily practice. So the analogy I always use, not unlike the arm that we talked about, right? Let's imagine, we want a six pack. Let's say I've decided I want a six pack and I do all the right things to get a six pack. I stop eating chocolate bars. I don't eat French fries anymore. I work out every day. I do 100 crunches every night before bed. Well, yes, I will eventually get a six pack, right? All of those actions will add up to an outcome. I mean, that's just true. That's just a fact. Now, once I get my six pack, if I stop doing the actions that got me the six pack, what's going to happen? If I start eating the chocolate bars and the French fries again, and I stop doing my push ups and I stop working out, I will lose the six pack. And a mindset is exactly like that. We don't arrive at a strong mindset. We have to keep a strong mindset. Having a strong mindset is a practice. It is a habit. It is a choice to make every day. And like every single habit that I'm sure we've all tried to build, and every single practice I'm sure we've all tried to create and live into, we're usually very, very, very bad at it, right? We get really good for a while and then we lose it. And then we have periods where we're totally undisciplined and then we get back to it. And so what I want to sort of just open with is it's got to be practiced daily. If I could wave a magic wand and if I could magically do one thing that I think would instantly change the success rate of every single small business in the world, it would be to give you some sort of inner magical resolve to do your mindset as a muscle daily practice, because then I believe you could handle anything that comes your way, right? I wouldn't just magically give you all $1 million. I'd give you a magical mindset, because then you could do even more than something finite, like have $1 million. So this is the dream, right? It is a daily practice. And it's really about building this strong, consistent mindset that can bounce back, right? Not that is perfect and not that needs the world to be perfect, but that allows you to self-evaluate and get back into action. Self-evaluate, back to action, self-evaluate, back to action over and over again. One of the signs of a strong mindset is that you can recognize when you're stuck before it gets too late. And we're going to talk about that right now. The way that you keep this mindset in check is really focused on three things: interventions when you're stuck, calendar audits on a regular basis, and I will days once a month. And then, of course, layered around all of that, asking for help when it's needed. So we're going to talk through these habits. Now, these stages of stuck, we're going to come back to this. I'm going to walk through these slides quite quickly, and then we're going to come back and spend time on each of them. But this idea of stages of stuck. One of you guys just spoke about it. All of you mentioned being stuck in various different ways. The idea of the stages of stuck in SLAP is that we are all going to get stuck. Again, I'm going to keep saying this because I really want, if I could hope you all leave with one takeaway, it is to normalize that we're going to have bad days. The world is going to be hard. We're going to get stuck. It's not the pursuit of success is not the elimination of hard things. It is the resilience to handle hard things and to bounce back. So there's no version of the world where I believe hard things go away. And there's no version of the world where I believe hard days disappear. I don't want to pretend that's true. I want to build the resilience so that we are excellent at handling the hard things. So stages of stuck in the world of SLAP sound like, and I'm laughing because you can see here stuck stage 3. Somebody got a slap this week about a vacation. It's because our SLAP experts are fabulously well trained on stages of stuck. So when you hear yourself saying, I'm too busy, you're in stuck stage 1. The reason that you are facing that conundrum is because you are living with a lack of clarity and focus. The solution is a calendar audit. Now, we're going to come back and talk about this a lot, okay? If you stay there too long, you will drop into stuck stage 2. These are basically escalations. At stuck stage 2, it sounds like I'm completely overwhelmed. If you are saying words like I'm overwhelmed, more than likely, you currently have unrealistic goals. And no matter how hard you work, you will never succeed and you feel overwhelmed for good reason, right? But there's a solution to that, an intervention, which is getting your goals realistic. The third stage of stuck sounds like I've lost my passion. I don't feel excited anymore. I'm not into this anymore, right? The root cause of that is exhaustion. And the solution, the intervention, is a vacation. And then all the way down, if we stay there for too long, stuck stage chore sounds like, I want to quit. Give me a job, get me out of here. This is crazy. And usually when we've arrived there, it means that because of a lack of clarity and focus, fighting for unrealistic goals, getting ourselves exhausted, we somehow end up a little out of alignment. And I always say, getting out of alignment happens thousands and thousands and thousands of teeny, 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 tiny choices over a period of time. And then all of a sudden, crap, here we are. And all the time, the answer there is to realign our mindset, our profit goals, and the impact we want to have in the world so that we feel aligned and centered and get back to work. So these are the stages of stuck. We're going to come back and we're going to spend lots of time hanging out in stages of stuck in just 1 second. Now, you'll notice, just going back, the intervention on stuck stage 1 is a calendar audit. Now, why does that matter? Because the most critical resource we all have is our time, not money. Money is actually infinite. We may not feel like it's infinite in our bank accounts right now, but it technically is. Time is finite. We all have 24 hours in a day, every single one of us. There's no exception to that rule. And so the best way to prevent yourself from getting to the point of being overwhelmed, losing your passion, wanting to quit, is to get out of stuck stage 1 as fast as you can. Every time you see that you're in stuck stage 1, calendar audit and get out, right? Get yourself out of stuck stage 1 before you drop to 2, 3, 4. So the reason we teach you guys the calendar audit so much, and we count on it so much, and we ask you guys to do a calendar audit so much, is because it really is the antidote to getting yourself unstuck and unstuck and unstuck as quickly as possible so you don't drop into stuck stage 2, 3, 4. The calendar audit comes back to your time budget. And what does that really mean? It's about your priorities. It's about being so clear that you have aligned the way you're spending your time against the life and the outcomes you want to create, that you're in perfect sync and alignment. You can't have a strong mindset if you say you want one thing, but all your time is focused on something else. You can't have a strong mindset if you're not telling the truth. It's impossible. The only way to have a strong mindset is to be in honest alignment. And the number one way to check in on someone's alignment is their calendar. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk a lot in just a second, and we're going to go through a lifetime calendar audit, all of us together. Now, forgive me for my sad, unfinished slide. Here's the next mindset as a muscle practice I'm going to teach us today, is I will days. Even if, okay, let's say you buy into this idea that you don't want to get overwhelmed and lose your passion and quit. You want to intervene on yourself when you feel too busy, and you want to keep doing these calendar audits to align your time against your priorities so that you can stay in alignment, right? Solid and grounded. Even when you're that intentional, we still get scattered. An I will day is a minimum of 5 hours a month, blocked in your calendar. No phone, no email, no technology, no meetings, no interventions, where you just sit and you look at every single thing you said you would do in the last 30 days. And if it hasn't gotten done, you reprioritize it, you delegate it, you apologize for it, or you delay it. And you get yourself back into shape, back into alignment on a monthly basis. And I'm going to walk us through, we're going to do a mini I will day together today. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, right, is this habit of saying no. I saw in the chat that Shar said no earlier. If you are struggling to stay on track, to get to the outcomes you want, going back to this idea of profit as a skill, the most successful business owners say no, way more than they say yes. The reason we say no is so that we can say yes to just the highest and best use of our time. And so building a strong mindset is actually about saying no. It's about saying no to everything that is not the best and highest use of the time and money that you have. And all of that then results in profit. So how do we make more money? You build your strong mindset first. The mindset's the first step. With a strong mindset, you have what it takes to make sure you're always taking the right actions. When you take the right actions over and over and over again, it's inevitable. Actions equal results. You will close sales. And so if we build a strong mindset, you will hit your SLAP goals and be the owner of a profitable and sustainable business who has a strong mindset and a strong impact. So that's why we started this first Silver Summit of 2024 with mindset. This is the foundation. This foundation allows you the alignment and the integrity and the resilience to keep coming back to using your time to make the right and best choices, to take the right and best actions. And that over a sustained period of time, it is science. Like, it is inevitable that it eventually results in closing sales. So most people say, well, I'm not closing as much sales as I want. I should try 27 more things. The answer is actually no. Let's go back. Let's go get your mindset back on track. Let's go get back to alignment. Let's make sure we're spending the most time and energy on the highest quality, most effective, correct actions from a place of alignment. And then let's watch that correlate to higher sales. So we're going to come back, and we are, again, in May, we're going to talk all about profit as a skill, but it starts with mindset. Profit starts with mindset. And that's why we're starting here. It's not to ignore profit as a skill, it's to lay the foundation for profit as a skill. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second. I am going to take us through actual exercises where we're going to do a calendar audit. We're going to do a very, very mini I will day, and we're going to practice the concept of actually evaluating real life situations through your SLAP statement. And my proposition to all of you is that more than likely by the end of it, in an hour from now, I'm going to guess that most of you are going to realize that at least 50% of what you're doing right now is not helping you. And the answer is not for you to just keep doing more, but it's to cut out everything that is not serving you so that all your time and your money and your energy can be deployed against your highest priority. But let's see if that's true. That I'm gonna tell you my hypothesis up front, and then you guys can tell me if it's true or not in an hour from now. Before we go into actually starting to practice these concepts, questions. Does anyone have any questions about mindset as a muscle, the theory of it, the philosophy of it, the practice of it? Does anyone have clarifying questions before we play with it, before we start trying to do some reps? If you do, just put your hand up so I don't miss you. No. Oh, I think I see Bonnie.
So I understand and I agree everything you're explaining. Is there a different mindset if you just recently transitioned out of the corporate world where there was structure and now I feel like I'm lost? So I don't see myself busy, but I do feel like, I made a mistake. And so I don't know if there's a different mindset for a transitional period.
So I would say no. I would say what's happening for you, Bonnie, and again, tell me if I'm wrong, but in moments of uncertainty, right, our mindset goes into overdrive, right? So what it sounds to me like, right, is let's say a business owner has been in business for 40 years, the COVID just happened, and everything they've done for the last 40 years has changed, and they have to totally reimagine their business, right? That would be the same level of massive change that you're going through. So most of us, I'm a weirdo. I actually really enjoy change. And so I like start firing all cylinders with change. Most of us don't like change, right? It's incredibly uncomfortable. So what I would say, what I'm hearing and what you said is you're in the external circumstance you're in has a lot of change and transition in it, right? And so your mindset is having a hard time feeling grounded because the circumstance of the moment feels very unfamiliar, uncertain, different, right? All the things that a mindset doesn't like. So the challenge then is, we actually had a great conversation about this in another strategy meet a couple months ago with someone. The mission, which is counterintuitive, the mission is when things are the most uncertain, uncomfortable, unclear, We actually need to like quadruple down on mindset reps because we need our mindset to be even stronger. So the philosophy would be that the most resilient of mindsets, right, which none of us have, it's an impossible dream, but let's pretend we were fighting for impossible. The most resilient mindset would be able to stay grounded, calm, right, out of stages of stuck, consistent, thriving, focused, clear and disciplined, steady, regardless of any circumstance, right? Change, transition, economy, politics, divorce, death, illness, right? That's not true. And that's why the reps are so important is when we put ourselves in a situation or where a situation arrives at our life, whether we ask for it or not, where there's huge uncertainty or familiarity, we need to have that strong mindset so that we can handle the demands it brings. So what I hear, does that make sense, Bonnie?
It does. And where it hit me is when you said, well, even if you have been in business for 40 years, COVID hits. And I think what's happening is that, especially when you have a perfectionistic mind, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh my gosh, this, I'm not sure. It's practicing it and getting it better, but so I do appreciate that a lot.
Right. Thank you. One of the trick, the overriding trick, I would say, for all of us, right? Literally none of us know what's going to happen tomorrow, never mind in 1 hour, right? Anything could happen, right? We all know that. So, look at the last 4 years, right? A global pandemic. We didn't plan for that. So much loss and grief in our system. Lots of uncertainty, right? The economy could take off or fall apart tomorrow. Elections in so many countries, right? That could mean all sorts of different things for so many different people in so many different ways. So the sort of lesson of, I think, our moment, the leadership lesson of our moment, in my opinion, I was actually just saying this yesterday. The CEO of the past, right? The model of leadership we have previously learned in business is, the stereotypical, white man who has a plan, right? And his plan is for this much growth in this linear way. And everyone basically like get in line because we're going to drive the growth. And I think that worked for a period of time. But the reality is we are in such a chaotic version of the world where there is so much uncertainty and there is so much change that type of leadership isn't going to work anymore. And so I think we're being called to having the mental resilience to be able to handle complexity and uncertainty. And that's a very different style of leadership than we've been taught. And so, but that adds to the complexity of our time, because actually another thing that is unfamiliar is, well, what does a good business owner even look like right now? What is a good business leader, right? Like the model that we've been taught doesn't really hold strong, right? It's not working in this moment. So, again, I would offer as a community, we need to reconcile that we're in a moment of time that is rife with uncertainty, unfamiliarity, newness, loss, grief, change. And then on top of it, lots of us are changing our businesses or quitting jobs to start businesses, right? Injecting our own change on top of the change in the world. So most of us are on fire, right? Most of us are fully activated in overwhelm of the things that type of change and uncertainty activates. And it's why so many people feel like they're struggling with mental health and anxiety and uncertainty. So, Bonnie, I think you're exactly in the right community, having exactly the right conversation and exactly the same conversation as the rest of us. Our job as a community is to figure out, in the midst of all that reality, how do we ground?
Thank you. I like that. In the midst of, yes.
In the midst of, right. Again, because that's where we really get ourselves in trouble, hoping it will change. Let's assume it won't change. So then in the midst of the craziness, right? What's our response? How do we ground so we can handle it? And not just handle it, by the way, leverage it. In every single circumstance, there is opportunity. So I don't want us to build a strong mindset just so we get by. I want us to build a strong mindset so we see the opportunity in whatever circumstance we're in, right? That's really then where we start to grow our businesses, make more money, make real change.
And what I hear you say, it's not more of willpower. because it's not just like bang your head against the wall and make yourself do it.
Willpower and motivation are lost causes, right? If we're counting on motivation or willpower, we'll fail. The alternative to willpower is alignment. The alternative to motivation is structure and support. One of the things that behavior change science teaches, and this is the Success of Science Silver Summit we're going to do in September. I'm going to teach you guys the science in a lot of detail. But in behavior change science, it basically says, right, that there are very, very, very few humans, arguably none of us, that have what we would call like intrinsic self-structure, right? Some people might call that motivation. Again, motivation is different than that. But this idea that we can hold ourselves accountable no matter what, right? 99.9% of humans require external structure and support, right? That is what SLAP is, mindset calls and groups like this and communications and nudges, right? And that is human, right? We are human when we need external structure and support. And most of us operate, especially in business, we've been taught, be independent, have it all figured out. It's literally the worst possible messaging and the worst possible advice, because we don't have intrinsic internal structure and support. We need it to come from an external place. And so so I always say, like, swap out the idea that you're just going to have willpower, focus instead on alignment. That's what all this mindset stuff is, right? And get rid of motivation. It's such a fickle friend. And build structure and support, external structure and support. When you're fully aligned internally, and then you're wrapped around with external structure and support, game on. Then it doesn't matter what's going on. You're going to be fine. You're going to be able to leverage whatever is true and keep making progress. Okay. So I'm seeing the stuff in chat. I'm loving that people are doing the I will days. This is making me very, very, very excited. Let's practice it. So let me share my screen again. And we're going to start by talking about stages of stuck. So here's what I want everyone to do. If you're prepared, my screen's just loading. You should see it very shortly. There it is. All right. So if you are prepared to be open and honest, which I would love, and if you want to just sort of self-process, that's okay too. But I'd love to just start with an assessment. I'm going to give you a little more information. I'm just opening the chat so I can see what you guys are saying. I'm going to give you a little bit more training on these stages of stuck, so you can really identify where you're at. But one of the signs, again, I'm going to keep emphasizing this because, again, we've all been taught we should be perfect and good and have it all figured out. One of the signs of a strong mindset is the ability to self-evaluate where we're really at, right? A strong mindset says, like some of you have said today, I'm not in a good place. And so I'm going to do these three things to bring in more structure and support, right? To add more support to where I'm at. That's why I loved about Sharon's feedback so much. I was ready to quit 5 times yesterday. And this is what I did about it, right? I wallowed a little. I played my little violin for a bit. And then I got on the phone with the SLAP expert. And then I did this. And then I did that. I did an intervention on myself. So a strong mindset can self-diagnose and then intervene. So that is the premise. That's the skill set I want us to leave with, right? The mindset is a muscle, is the ability to self-diagnose and self-intervene. Do an intervention on yourself, right? Being a victim, right? Living in a place where you haven't taken responsibility for yourself, hopes somebody else will intervene for you, right? That's childish. I'm just going to sit here falling apart. I hope someone saves me. A strong mindset, I know I'm falling apart. I got to intervene on myself. I don't have the solution. I can't fix it myself, but I can build the structure and support around myself to get myself back on track. Okay. So what does I'm too busy sound like? I'm going to give you guys a bit more detail on each of these 4 things with the name of, I want you guys to be able to self-diagnose. Okay. I'm too busy. What this really sounds like, right? What this feels like, you wake up in the morning, you run all day long, you are barely holding it together, By the time you go to bed, you're exhausted. You don't even know what you did. You don't know what's going on tomorrow. You're always a little bit behind. You never get things done on time. You're always chasing deadlines. You're crisis jumping, right? You're just living in a state of frenzy. It has, by the way, these stages of stuck have no correlation to your sales goals, for the record. In fact, oftentimes how we feel has no correlation to our financial reality, which is a whole different fascinating conversation. But it is about how you are living your day-to-day life, right? So that feeling of never being able to catch up, never being able to get on top of things, never being able to get your act together, basically. That feeling of almost like low-grade anxiety all the time because you're running, and never just on top of it. That's stuck stage 1. I would bet that 99.9% of small business owners like operate in stuck stage 1 and assume it's normal. It's not. It doesn't have to be like that, right? I always say busy is not a badge of honor. One of the things that I have stopped saying actually is I'm so busy. As soon as I find myself saying, oh my God, I'm just so busy these days, right? I actually intervene on myself and say, you know what? I've gotten myself a little too busy because of a lack of focus and discipline. So my life is very full right now, but I need to do some work so that I'm more on top of it, right? I'm not proud of being busy. It's a sign of mismanagement. So most business owners are living a life very, very busy, but it's a sign of mismanagement. It's an early sign of a lack of clarity and focus. It is not a badge of honor being busy. It's a lack of focus and discipline and organization. So that is what stuck stage 1 sounds like. All of us, if you are a business owner, you're going to fall into stuck stage 1 all the bloody time. So the reason we're so dogged and so bullish about the calendar audit is we want all of us to have the skill of being like, uh-oh, I got busy. Let me get back on track. I got busy. Let me get back on track. Because if we can intervene here at stuck stage 1, we don't drop to 2, 3, 4. As a side note, businesses don't fail. Business owners decide to quit. Businesses don't fail. Business owners decide to quit. The reason I care so much about these interventions in the early stages of stuck, I don't want you at stuck stage 4. The world needs you to succeed. The world needs small businesses to succeed. You guys drive job creation. You guys create a more just economy where wealth is distributed more equally. You guys create systemic change in wealth distribution. We need you to succeed. You guys build communities so they don't get gentrified. You restore them. You have to succeed. We need you. So I don't want to see a slapstick get to stuck stage 4. It scares the crap out of me. Your business won't fail. The risk your business has is that you, the business owner, will burn out or run out of cash and choose to quit. Don't do that. Intervene earlier, ideally at stuck stage 1. So a strong mindset, like a rock star mindset, is still going to get to stuck stage 1. But a rock star mindset doesn't get to stuck stage 2, 3, or 4. It gets itself out. It keeps pulling itself back at stuck stage 1. It identifies it, it calls it, it diagnoses it, it intervenes, and it gets back on track. Okay. Stuck stage 2 sounds like I'm overwhelmed, right? I hear the word overwhelmed in the SLAP community probably 1,000 times a day. I don't know how many times a day do we all say we're overwhelmed. There is also, by the way, a correlation to unrealistic goals. So imagine this, right? Imagine I tell you that I'm going to have a 6-pack in 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, I starve myself. I work out nonstop. I constantly, do everything possible. I do all the right actions, but I have such a limited amount of time against such an unrealistic goal. I'm going to become so discouraged because I'm doing all the right things, but there's absolutely no chance I can succeed because I created an unrealistic goal for myself. And then the neural pathways start firing. And then we feel like a failure. And then we think, oh my God, no matter how hard I work, I'm never going to succeed. And that results in overwhelm. Overwhelm is not just, being overwhelmed. Overwhelm is usually self-manufactured because we've created a completely unrealistic goal for ourselves. And we could be doing all the right things. This is where overwhelm comes from. I'm doing all the right things and it's not working. I'm going to fail. That's where overwhelm comes from. It's the fear that I'm about to fail. Because, not because you're a failure, because you set yourself up to fail by creating unrealistic goals. Okay, so that is where you get to if you stay busy too long. If you don't have enough clarity, you don't have enough focus, you're running around like crazy, you're not paying attention, you start taking on too much, you start setting goals that are unrealistic, you start getting into crisis management mode. And then even if you're doing all the right work, you're going to fail. And that creates huge amounts of overwhelm. That feels overwhelming. I'm working so hard, I'm doing all the right things, I can't accomplish my goal. It's the disconnect between actions and results that results in this feeling of overwhelm. Now I'm going to pause for 1 second because I'm just noting that the closed captioning thinks I'm saying sex stage 1 and sex stage 2, which is quite funny. That's probably a very different conversation. That's not what Slap's going to work on, but we could talk about that another time. I will try to enunciate better, but if not, forgive my lack of enunciation on stuck. Sex stage 3. Now, what happens if you stay overwhelmed for too long? What happens if you have unrealistic goals, you're working your butt off, you're running around like chicken with your head cut off, you're working nonstop, no matter what you do, it's not working because the goal you set's unrealistic, right? How long can you do that before you just get tired? Not very long, quite frankly. I have more energy than almost anyone I know. I still get exhausted. I mean, I've gotten to sex stage 3 times in my life, and it sucked because I could not be more passionate about what I do. And I always say I never lost my passion, but I didn't have enough energy to feel my passion because feeling passion requires energy. It requires enthusiasm. It requires engagement and being alive. But when you get to the point of being busy for too long and fighting for unrealistic goals at length, of course you get tired. Of course you get tired. And if you're tired, you certainly cannot feel passion, obviously. So I've lost my passion is that feeling of, oh, I know what I need to do, but I can't do it. I used to describe it as molasses. I'm in molasses. I know I care about this, but I could not motivate myself to go send that email if my life depended on it, right? It's this feeling of, I know I used to care about this. I might even know what to do, but I have just lost my energy to do it. I've lost my passion. I don't care enough to mobilize myself to get to the outcome I'm fighting for. That's what sex stage 3 feels like. And in sex stage 4, I want to quit. That is this very, very deep, I'm going to call it a period of questioning. Questioning. Is this even worth it? Is this even what I want to be doing with my life? Am I ever going to actually make a difference? Does anyone even care about this? Right? It's sort of that listlessness of, oh my God, like, does it even matter? Right? That's kind of what I feel like sex stage 4 sounds like. I think I'm just going to quit because it's just too hard and it doesn't matter. Now, here's what I think really I want you guys to be thinking about. You are not. There's no version of the world where you started a small business if you're lazy or scared of doing a hard thing, right? So when you hear yourself saying something like, I think it's just too hard, that's not true because you already did the hard thing. You started a business. You're not scared of hard things if you started a business. That is sex stage 4. That is something is out of alignment and now it all just feels too hard. I don't know how to figure this out. Like, it's not worth it. That's not true. You're willing to work hard. You are willing to do the hard thing. You've proven it. So there's a misalignment that's happened at this point. Okay, so that is what sex stage 1, 2, 3, 4 sounds like. For the record, there's no shame in the stages of stuck. Zero shame. You're not a bad person if you're stuck stage 3. You're not a failure if you're stuck stage 4. You're not getting a badge of honor if you're stuck stage 1. That's not the deal here. The deal is to be able to have simple language, simple explanations, and simple interventions to do that self-diagnosis so that you can give yourself whatever you need to get back to thriving, back to strong mindset, back to on track. So I just want to say that out loud. Like, you don't get any medal for being stuck stage 1, and you don't get any sympathy for being stuck stage 4. It is just a state of being. There's no emotion attached to it. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. So with that being said, let's go into chat. Oh, Chandra, I just want to say what Chandra said. We've all been there. I've experienced all except stage 3. That's interesting. I have been stuck stage 1 more times than I can count, stuck stage 2 regularly, stuck stage 3 3 times, stuck stage 4 once. And I will definitely be back in all of them. Again, like, they're not, again, it's not good or bad. It's a tool to self-evaluate. So in chat, throw your number in. Are you currently in no stages of stuck? You're thriving, your mindset's strong, you're moving and grooving? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Self-evaluate. Again, a strong mindset doesn't feel shame about what's going on for them. A strong mindset can self-analyze and self-assess. Okay, I'm seeing the 4s, 3, 2, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, in and out of 1, 1, 3, 2, 2, 2, ooh, 0, like a 0, 1.5, somewhat a 1, 2. Okay, what I love the comment, I'm just scrolling back up to find it. Janelle said, it's so helpful to have a language for this journey and the friction points. I've been in 3 for some time, back at 1 currently. That's the point of this, right? Again, I'm just going to keep, I know that I said this 10 times. I'm saying it over and over again on purpose. There is no shame in being stuck. There's no version of being good or bad or right or wrong. A strong mindset has the ability to diagnose and self-assess, not be perfect. Okay, so my mission for all of you, a strong mindset can self-assess the true and realistic reality, not be perfect, be unstuck, and live in perfect circumstances. Okay. In fact, one of the signs of a strong mindset is the releasing of the idea of perfect. You're not perfect. The world is not perfect. Get over it. A good mindset handles it and responds accordingly. Okay. So now you self-assess. The second ingredient of a strong mindset is that you can then do a self-intervention. Okay. So for all of you, let's work our way backwards. For all of you at stuck stage 4, I want to quit. That is an alignment situation. We've got an alignment solution we need to find. In an ideal world, and in fact, I even have a very different slide for this. So let me go get it and reshare my screen. Let me just pull it up because it's in a very different place in this presentation than where I am right now, but I want to show you guys the visual. But in an ideal world, what I want for all of you guys, oh, maybe I'm not going to do it. There we go. What I want for all of us is alignment, right? The idea of balance is silly. It's never going to happen. The idea of, all of these words like motivation, unhelpful, what I believe is true is that, let me actually perfectly share this. I found it. Good news. Share my screen. We talk about it as being the silver standard at Silver Lining because we're a silver lining. But I think the silver standard of business leadership is transcending this idea of balance and moving to the idea of alignment, where your mindset, everything we're talking about today, the goals that you've set for profit, your financial health, and then the impact that you want to have in the world are in perfect alignment. So there's no version where, we're all going to magically figure out how to be balanced. Balance is an impossibility. But if everything we're fighting for in our mindset and our profit and our impact are perfectly aligned, then all of our momentum goes in the same direction. In business, we've been taught, right? Well, if you're over there and you're worried about your mindset and you're doing yoga and being kumbaya and being woo all the time, Well, then that's at odds with building a profitable business, right? And being, focused and disciplined and organized and having the skill of profit. And that's somehow at odds of fighting for justice and creating system change and contributing back to the world. I would offer that actually the opposite is true, that our wellness, our financial profit, our health, and the world, right, creating justice and system change and impact in the world, those three, it only works when those three things are aligned. How I think about my wellness, the profit I create in silver lining, and the justice I'm fighting for, if those three things are not aligned, right? If I was trying to live a life where I was balancing everything I do, I'd fail. So I don't worry about balance. I worry about alignment. Is my mindset, my profit, and my justice aligned? If they're not aligned, how do I get them back into alignment? So if you're stuck stage 4, and let's just go back there for a second, if you're in stuck stage 4, something has gotten out of alignment. You may have become too focused on your mindset and forgot about making sure you're financially sustainable. You may have started giving all your hours away to your community and sacrificed your health. You may have been so focused on profit that you lost touch with the values of why you want to grow this business in the first place, which might be to contribute in a bigger and better way. And so most of the time we want to quit. It's not because the business can't succeed. In fact, I would argue it's never because the business can't succeed. It's because we as a business owner, again, remember I said this earlier, it's like death by 1,000 tiny, teeny, tiny choices, right? Death by 1,000 choices where somehow something got a little out of alignment. Our mindset, our profit, and our impact got lopsided, out of alignment. So my challenge for any of you that just diagnosed yourself, assessed yourself at stuck stage 4, is to go to this. What's out of alignment in your life? Is your mindset, your profit, and your impact equally strong? Are they aligned? Are you putting all of your time and your money and your energy and your resources against initiatives that are growing your mindset, your profit, and your impact at the same time? Or have they become competing priorities? Have you overcompensated in some way? Have you lost your alignment? One of the number one things that I see people who, going back to Bonnie's example, so many people leave corporate jobs to start small businesses because they feel like they got out of alignment, right? Maybe they had like the equivalent of the golden handcuffs, they got the big job, but they didn't think they were making an impact in the world. They didn't feel like their mindset was being protected. So then they go start a business, and ironically, what often happens is that then we overcompensate. We get so focused on impact and mindset that we don't quickly enough build profit. There's no right and wrong in any of this. But the challenge is to be building a life where these three things are growing together. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. They actually are designed in such a way that they grow together. What I'll give you examples of this is, for me, the bigger silver lining gets, the more therapists and SLAP strategists and accountability I have in my life. So my profit is growing. I'm aware my mindset's going to have to grow to keep up with the business's growth. And so I'm doubling down on the external structure and support that I need so that the capacity of my mindset can match the capacity of the growth of the business. And just connected to that, I've built our entire business model to be focused on justice. So I'm not trying to run a company and also volunteer at 27, initiatives. My business is my play. My business is the most powerful tool I have to create impact and justice in the world. And so as it grows, so too immediately does my impact and my justice grow. So I'm never going to have to quit silver lining because I have the mechanisms built into my life to grow my mindset to match the growth of my business. And as my business profit grows, so does my impact. So they're all aligned. They're growing together. They're pushing each other and propelling them forward. And actually, my mindset, my profit, and my justice, my impact propel each other. They take me further. That's what I want for you. If you want to quit, that's not an alignment in your life right now. And the challenge, the job is to figure out how to get it back into alignment. Now, how do you do that? I would say that it is probably getting some outside structure and support. Our SLAP experts could probably do a really good job of having that conversation with you guys. But I would say you want to book a call with a SLAP expert. You want to have an alignment conversation with them. And they may need to give you advice for other and additional people to speak to as well. So, but it is an alignment exercise. That is the mission. Okay. Now I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go back to my slide deck. You guys can see this is the inside peek. Look at this. This is the SLAP methodology in, you can see how much we thought about 113 slides it takes us to actually talk about the SLAP methodology in full. I'm not going to show you all those slides. Don't worry. I won't do that to you guys. Let's go back here. If you're in stuck stage 3, I've lost my passion. I am going to just tell you who's stuck stage 3. Put your hand up if you're stuck stage 3. If you are stuck stage 3, you must take 7 days off. Not 2, not 1, ideally 10. And those 7 days that you're off, you must not work. The only hope you have of not getting to stuck stage 4 is getting rested. Because if you're exhausted for too long, you will not have the emotional capacity to get into alignment and to pull yourself back into action. And then you will want to quit. And again, your business can succeed. The risk is that you decide to quit. So 7 days. I will tell you guys the 3 times that I got to stuck stage 3, and here's what I would offer you. If you're in stuck stage 3, you're of no good use to your business. Your brain is not firing. You're tired. You're probably not making good choices. It's probably taking you 3 days to do what the rested version of you could do in 2 hours. You're not helping your business right now. You're of no good use. You're not helpful. This is also one of the things that I always try to remind myself when I'm having a bad day. I'm not that important. It's fine. If I'm gone for a couple days, the world will not end. Everything will be okay. A rested you will come back and accomplish more in the next month than this tired version will accomplish in the next 2 years. You're actually being strategic by intervening, getting yourself out of Dodge, resting, and coming back. So if you are stuck stage 3, I challenge you to put into chat right now that our team can hold you accountable to taking a vacation. And I am telling you, there were 3 times in my life where I had, when I say $0 in my bank account, I mean $0 in my bank account, negative $0 in my bank account. And I was fried, mentally cooked, exhausted. And my to-do list was obnoxious. The number of things that I owed people, delivered to people, was overdue and behind on was immense. And in all 3 of those moments, I took credit cards I couldn't afford, borrowed money from friends in a way that was completely embarrassing and humbling to have to ask for. And I went and I sat on the cheapest beach I could find for 7 days by myself. I got myself back together and I came back and I got to work. And if I hadn't done it, I don't know if Silver Lining would be here. If I had not taken those cheap, crappy, borrowed money, borrowed time vacations, I don't know if Silver Lining would be here. I'm telling you, Silver Lining was in the balance of me going and sitting on a beach by myself for 7 days, 3 different times over the last 19 years. That's how much I believe this is critical. You're of no good use to your company if you're exhausted. No good use. A tired you could work for the next year and get less done than a vibrant you could do in the next 2 weeks. You'll make bad choices. You're of no good use. Go get yourself in order, come back and get things back on track. It's so much better that way. Okay, if you're brave enough to be accountable to that, put it into chat, and our team's going to hold you accountable. The vacation, 7 days, 7 days. If you're overwhelmed, what I want you to do is put into chat and ask for accountability to go back and review your SLAP goal. You will fail if you have the wrong goal. That's not me being mean. That's just the truth. So if you're overwhelmed, if you're pursuing something that's unrealistic, that does a real disservice to your mindset. It sucks to work really hard for something that you will never be able to achieve. That is not a good way to live a life. So the answer is actually beautifully simple and straightforward. You just get your goal in order. Hallelujah. So easy, so fun. So that is a 1-hour call. You get on the phone with a SLAP expert. You don't have to prepare for it. You don't have to do anything. You borrow someone else's strength and expertise, and you get your goal right. If your goal is right, you will immediately see a dissipation of overwhelm, because you'll see that your actions can in fact get you to outcomes, which is a very encouraging place to be from a mindset point of view. So if you're stuck stage 2, I would love you to be audacious enough to ask for a call. So I see Yemi and I see the Menopause Whisperer putting overwhelmed in chat. If any of the rest of you want one of those goal review calls, go right into chat. I see it happening. And Team Colombo, grab these names, and we're going to literally email you today before the end of the day to set up the goal review call. And I'm telling you, in 1 hour, you're going to go from stuck stage 2 back to action. It's magic. It really is true that that intervention works. All right. And then for all the stuck stage 1, which is arguably all of us, because if you got to 2, 3, and 4, you're also in 1, right? We're all too busy. Let's talk about getting unstuck and learning the practice, the habit of getting ourselves out of stuck stage 1 so we don't end up at 2, 3, or 4. Okay. I want you to crack the code of not arriving at 2, 3, 4. It's okay if you do, no shame, right? We know the intervention, but the ideal scenario is you don't have to get there, right? We get good at seeing stuck stage 1 and getting out. So here's the answer to stuck stage 1. It's a time budget, and it's a calendar audit against a time budget. So here's the deal. All of us have 168 hours a week. That's a fact. There's no negotiation of that fact. In that 168 hours a week, successful people allocate those hours to their highest and best priority. Like I said earlier, if small businesses aren't hitting their SLAP goals, the first thing I ask them to do is show me their calendar. And a calendar that is clean, organized, time blocked, almost always correlates to financial success. A calendar that is chaotic, overlapping, confused, jumbled, mismanaged, almost always has a direct correlation to a lack of financial success. So a calendar is like the first insight into whether or not you're on track to deploy your time and your money and your resources in the most efficient and effective way to get to the financial success that you want. So when we go back and talk about profit as a skill in May, we're going to talk about time budgets again. There's no way around time budgets. Time budgets are critical to mindset. They're critical to profit. And so this lesson is a key lesson of SLAP. And you'll see it's why so many of your time, I'm sure many of you have been on a call with a SLAP expert and they'll say, let's do a calendar audit. It's because at the root of alignment and the root of profit is the deployment of our time against our highest priority. Now, on a piece of paper, you guys obviously have done this in your SLAP. I encourage you to keep revisiting it, right? There's this idea of the places your time needs to go, right? You must sleep. I want you to exercise. Unless you're a hermit living in isolation, you've got friends and family that need your time. That's what a good life looks like. I hope you're having some fun every week. I hope you're doing things that inspire creativity and happiness and joy, because you need that to spark your business brain. You've got to manage the business you have. That's different than growing the business, finding new business. You've got to have time to think. I hope you're developing yourself, right? And many of us, many small business owners, part of why I love small business owners, do a lot in our communities. There's a reality to the fact that your time is distributed, right? I don't want you living a life where you're working 100 hours a week and have no time for anything else. The ideal state is that you're healthy and whole and well and fun and vibrant and connected, right? The alignment of wellness, profit, impact. That's what we want. Now, if this is what I would say a somewhat ideal time budget looks like, right? These numbers add up to 168. This is what I think it looks like. Each of you are going to decide what your ideal time budget looks like, right? A couple of things that I would just say to you, though, is what happens in general, right? We see business owners sacrificing sleep. Don't do that, right? You got to sleep. A tired entrepreneur coming back over here, right? I've lost my passion. If you're exhausted, you are on the brink of making a decision to quit your business. Don't get there. Don't get there. Don't do it. So sleep is critical. It's actually, I think, a critical component of being a successful person. Exercise, got to exercise, right? Whatever that means for you, you've got to move your body. If you are the most critical resource in your business and you're not healthy, what does that mean? There is no way your business can be healthy. If you're not healthy, your business cannot be healthy. That's a fact, because you have the most outsized influence on your business. Friends and family, fun, right? All of us have different relationships. If you're in a caregiving role, you probably need more hours in your friends and family time. That means they need to come off of something else. Business management and business growth. This is a big one. A lot of people say to me that they're growing their business, but actually that's not true. They're spending hours managing existing clients, going to networking events that aren't helpful, right? So you have to be really realistic. With the business that you have right now, how many hours a week does it take to manage the current business? And how many hours a week will you invest in growing it, finding new revenue and new opportunities? The number one reason that you may not be hitting your profit goals, your SLAP goals, is that when we look at your calendar for real, you're not spending any time on your business growth. This is one of the greatest, if it wasn't so tragic, it would be funny. One of the most fascinating parts of my job is that small businesses around the world sign up for SLAP to grow their business. And then when we look at how they're spending all of their time and money and energy, they're spending 0 hours growing their business. They're spending hours networking and going to conferences and going to client meetings and writing blog posts and doing God knows what else we all do with our time. But there is no direct correlation between anything that most business owners are doing and revenue, growing the business, signing new deals, generating revenue. And so it's not surprising and it's not confusing that we don't see the revenue we want. This, ironically, this business growth budget, time budget, is often the one that gets sacrificed when it's arguably the most critical. And if you're in a position where your business doesn't have a lot of business right now, or clients, or it's a slow period, right? That business management budget should go down to like 20 hours a week, and business growth should go up to 30 hours a week. If you don't have as much revenue as you want, you put more hours in your business growth time budget and you pull it from something else. There's no other magical solution. You need to put more time into your business growth time budget. That's how you make more money. That's how you grow more. How you spend your time is the thing that results in the results you're getting. Okay? Thinking time, right? 5 minutes to think. I'm trying to train us to be good strategic thinkers. You got to think. You cannot be an effective leader if you're not thinking. Personal development, right? I always say the version of me that started Silver Lining 19 years ago would absolutely not have had the skill set to run the company it is today. And the version of that I am today probably won't have the skill set I'll need to run Silver Lining in 2 years. We must be growing. Your business's growth will cap at your growth. So if you're not growing, your business can't grow. It will only grow at the same pace and speed of your growth. So you've got to be in active growth. You've got to be pushing yourself to the next level. You know, being part of SLAP is definitely a huge component of that, which is why I'm preaching to the choir if you're here already. And then community. This is the one to be wary of. What I see in all of our data, and I've seen this for 19 years with tens of thousands of businesses on every continent, small business owners are the best people. I love you people. I love you. I love you. I love you because you are good. And you almost always, you want to make the world better. And you have a philosophy and a contribution to do that. That goodness inside of 99.9% of the incredible business owners that I consider myself very lucky to know is that we give too much of ourselves away for free. We take on too many burdens that are not our own. And if you are constantly serving community and donating time and giving time away and energy away for free at the expense of your ability to stay well and be profitable, you're doing the world no good, because that is not a sustainable solution. You will burn out or go bankrupt. And burnt out and bankrupt entrepreneurs, business owners, is not what our economies and our communities need. You being successful is an act of justice. So yes, contribute. Yes, contribute. Yes, be active in your community. But be careful, because what I see most often what happens is the average small business owner spends an exorbitant amount of time on friends and family, caring for others, and an exorbitant amount of time on community, giving time and energy away for free, and an unbelievably, shockingly, terrifyingly small amount of time on business growth, strategic thinking, personal development, and fun, quite frankly. And of course, we all know it's very easy for sleep and exercise to fall right off the track quite quickly. So watch yourself. Where is your time going? Right. And usually, if the significant amount of your time is going to friends and family and community, there's a lack of a boundary issue. There's either an avoidance of doing what you must do to accomplish your goals, or there's a taking on of other people's problems at the expense of creating your own success. Both of those things are going to get you out of alignment. So I want you to be gorgeously beautiful contributors to your friends and family and to your community. I love that. But you are probably doing 1,000 times more than is reasonable at the expense of your health and your profit. So as we look at our calendars, it tells us the truth, right? If these are sort of the buckets of time, a calendar audit is literally opening your calendar for the last 30 days and just starting to do an audit. How many hours did you actually spend in each of these categories? How many hours did you sleep? How many hours did you spend, with friends and family? How many hours did you spend on fun? How many hours did you spend on personal development, thinking, growth? And the truth will set you free, because what you're going to discover is that when you feel tired, it's probably because in the last 30 days, you've dramatically undermet your sleep and exercise budget. If you won a lot of business, there's probably a direct correlation to the number of business growth hours you've had in your calendar for the last 3 months. If you are feeling like you're running out with your head cut off, so busy doing so many things, but making no money, you probably are doing a lot in the community bucket, maybe in the business management bucket, but really nothing in the business growth bucket. So you're busy, but you're not generating results. Your calendar will set you free. So what I'm going to show you guys my calendar. As an example, my calendar is not perfect. I always say, do as I say, not always as I do. But I will show you how I try to get this into my own brain. So I'm very visual. I think part of being dyslexic is that I'm very visual. Colors really do it for me. So this is my calendar. This is last week in my life. Each of my time budgets has a color. So fun is yellow for me because I love fun. Feels like fun to me. My greens are my community, giving back, helping others. My silvers are when I'm contributing to community, to the collective, to the silver lining community. Red is when I'm doing business management work. I'm managing silver lining. Dark red is when I'm doing things I don't think I should be doing. That's like red alerts to me. That's something I need to make sure my staff are doing. Light red is when I'm doing stuff I think I should be doing as a CEO. Dark blue is when I'm doing business growth, and so on and so forth. So what you can see, I also have sleep in there. I have a color for, this light blue is my personal care, my Carissa care, doing the things that are going to help me with my wellness. And so when I look at my calendar, I can do a quick assessment. Last week, I spent too much time on business management. I exceeded my budget. The business was requiring me, or I was making bad choices, or I didn't have good enough boundaries with my staff, and I was spending way too much time on business management. My budget for business growth is actually 20 hours a week. As the CEO of a company at this size, I should be spending 20 hours a week on business growth. You can see I spent 2.5 hours on business growth last week. Disaster, right? If I press forward to next quarter's goals, that's going to have an impact. I had almost no fun last week. I just worked and worked and worked, although I got a little fun in on the weekend. This week, right, you'll see I actually got a lot of fun in. I sort of this past weekend, I recognized, crap, I'm really getting stuck into admin stuff. So what did I do? I blocked myself some long work sessions, uninterrupted time to get on top of the things that were taking too much of my time so that I could get it behind me and get back to business development and business growth. I scheduled more fun. I know that if I'm not having fun, my brain stops working and I'm not as enjoyable to be around, and I don't have as much creativity to spark. You'll see, I have a lot. I'm the president of 2 boards, and they're taking a ton of my time right now. It's a problem. Look at all that community stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours of community stuff this week in only 4 days. That is not sustainable. I got to get some boundaries on those board commitments and get back to growing my business, right? Only 1 hour in blue, right? Business growth. Disaster. So my time budget is not good. If I predict what this will look like in Silver Linings numbers 90 days from now, not a good situation. So that's not bad. I'm not bad. I don't feel ashamed about it, but I'm aware of my truth. And I now have a decision as to whether or not I'm going to do an intervention, right? What you'll also see is on here, I don't have 1 minute of working out. Disaster, right? Bad. There's all sorts of bad things happening in my life right now. I'm having a great time. I'm doing work I believe in. I could be very easy sitting back, patting myself on the back. Look at these boards I'm the president of. They love me. I'm doing such a good job. Who the F cares, Carissa Reiniger? Am I building my business? Am I staying well? No. So it's all going to fall apart in 90 days based on my calendar today. I can predict it. It's a predictive tool. So my job is to be a mature adult and go get my calendar on track. Now, what do you see here? I've got my wellness stuff next week. I basically have started doing an intervention on myself. I'm doing yoga and swimming on Tuesday. I've got yoga on Wednesday. I'm going for a long walk and a date with my boyfriend who I haven't seen in like the last 5 weeks because I've been working and traveling like crazy, right? I've got more blue coming in, right? I've got blocks for blue. I've decreased my board meetings down to 3 hours next week. It's not perfect, but I'm working on it. I'm intervening on myself. That's what a strong mindset looks like. It is the ability to diagnose and then intervene. Not put shame on it, not put stories on it, not put emotion on it, but diagnose the truth and intervene and fight for alignment. So that's where I want to pause. We're technically at the end of the 2 hours. I am happy to answer some questions, talk about this a little bit for those of us who can stay. But what I want for you, right, the sort of summary of the concepts are, your mindset is not about being perfect or living in a perfect world. A strong mindset is grounded despite the fact that you are not perfect, we are not perfect, and despite the fact that the world is far from perfect and very unfamiliar and very unpredictable and very full of chaos. A good mindset, even the best mindset, will get stuck. So the job is not to never get stuck. The job is to get stuck and quickly identify it and intervene. The most effective habit, the most important, critical, baseline, foundational habit, that mindset is a muscle, the rep, the key workout, right? If you wanted a 6-pack, you do crunches. If you want a strong mindset, the go-to exercise is the calendar audit. Keep aligning your time back to your priorities, back to your time budget. If you do that religiously, you'll prevent yourself from getting to stuck stage 2. And even then, none of us are perfect and we'll still go down. So if you get to 2, intervene, ask the SLAP experts to do a goal review with you. If that doesn't work and you get to 3, take a 7-day vacation. If that doesn't work, get support to get back into alignment. If you can build the rep of that really, really, really critical time budget and calendar audit, and you do that regularly enough, you will intervene before you fall to stuck stage 2 or 3 or 4. And ultimately, right, a strong mindset accepts responsibility for your business will not fail. A strong mindset is making sure you've got the resilience so you never end up in a position where you choose to quit. And the reason that matters is not just about you. Your success is an act of justice. And when you succeed, your family is better off, jobs are created, communities are restored, and the economy grows in a more just way. We need you to succeed. And for your business to succeed, it starts with this foundation of a strong mindset. And the reps are that calendar, aligning your time against your highest priorities and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking all the time, right? And removing shame from whatever your truth is currently and shifting that shame to action, right? A self-awareness and an ability to diagnose and then intervene, right? Diagnose and intervene, diagnose and intervene. What is your truth and how do you get what you need? What is your truth and how do you get what you need? That is a person who can say what their truth is and then get what they need, right? Ask for it, get it outside of themselves is a human that will figure anything out. Right? A person that is embarrassed or ashamed or avoids what their truth is and or is embarrassed and ashamed and avoids asking for outside structure and support is a person who, even if they are the most talented, brilliant person, will not succeed. So that's what I want for you. The confidence and the mental resilience to say what is true and to design the interventions to get what you need, to meet whatever your current truth is, with that starting point of a time budget and the reps and the discipline of aligning time to priority. And being able to do what I just did in front of all of you, like, uh-oh, I got trouble. I can see it. I got to pull in some outside structure and support. Like, I got to get this train back on track because I'm enjoying my life right now, but it's not going to get me to the performance and the results that I want. So then it's my job to intervene, right? Get the structure and support that I need, get myself back on track. Okay. For those who need to go with love. I'm so glad we got this time together. Every single one of you that said that you wanted support, a call, Columbus kept track of all of that. We're reaching out to you. We are going to be in it with you to get you what you need. So consider that a given. You'll be hearing from us. And for those of you that have time to stay and questions and thoughts, let's talk. Ted, did you put your hand up because you wanted to say something? I saw it come down. What are you thinking, Ted?
There was just two quick questions. One about what would you consider this mindset muscle webinar or seminar or not to be? Would it be growth? Would it be business development? Would it be personal development? What would you call it?
That's a great question. Like, what is this 2 hours in your time budget?
Yeah.
Great question. I love that question. This is personal development.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one question came in, how often should they do the time audit?
So I believe in a weekly time audit. 10 minutes. If you're disciplined enough to keep your calendar as silly as mine is, right? My calendar is programmed to the minute, color coded. I can do a calendar audit in about 5 minutes, right? I mean, it's just, I don't even have to count. I just do the colors and I see how many hours I spent in each color, and each color correlates to one line on my time budget. So high performers would do it once a week and then tweak and tweak and tweak. At least once a week, I have to push a meeting out, cancel something I committed to, fill it with something more higher priority, right? I used to operate from the point of view of feeling bad if I had to renege on a commitment. I now deeply believe in delaying or apologizing or delegating when I've taken on something that is no longer the highest priority. So I very much believe in being adaptable so that we can stay aligned. Rigidity often gets us out of alignment. Adaptability allows us to stay in alignment. But we have to do that with character, right? We have to do that with sincerity. But yes, I would do it weekly. It only has to take 10 minutes. And the job is not to just see it. The job is to see what information you find out, right? And then to get your week the next week realigned back to your highest priorities. So it's to block. One thing, this is like 2.0 on a calendar audit, right? Step one is just see what's true. Step two is to actually block. If you guys look at my calendar like 4 weeks out, right before it's gotten so full, I've actually blocked my calendar in time blocks, color coded for what should go there, right? So I've got 4 hours every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoon in dark blue that should get filled with business development meetings, right? That should be filled. And if it's not filled, right, that's a failure of my business development activities, right? And I've got 5 hours a week in light, lavender, which should be filled, which I need to fill with swimming and yoga and things that help me with my wellness. So the ninja move is that you actually block your calendar with what it should look like in an optimized way, and then try to fill it with the highest priority things, right? Because what usually happens is we're responding to requests of our time. And what I want for you guys is to be proactively driving what you want to fill your time with. If you want 10 meetings a week and you only have 2, well, then you better spend the next 4 hours booking 8 more meetings, right? Get into action, fill it with the meetings you want to be having. So that's the ideal state. The ideal state is that you're not just responding and managing to what's coming in. You're driving the activities that get you the good stuff you need. As an example, I have every Wednesday night and every Sunday afternoon a 3-hour block in yellow for fun. And my rule is if I wasn't organized enough to actually schedule something fun with a friend, then I just go have fun by myself. But it's in my calendar. It's blocked. Every Wednesday night and every Sunday afternoon, I have fun. And it's important to me. So I'll take myself to a show, I'll go to an art gallery, I'll go for dinner, and I'll do something that I have to have fun on Wednesday night and I have to have fun on Sunday afternoon. And shame on me if I wasn't organized enough to coordinate something fun with someone else. I'll go have fun by myself. So that's the real power move, right? You block your calendar for those 168 hours, and then you fill in the activities, the meetings, the things that match your time budget. That's the ideal state. Ted, was there another thing you were going to say?
No, I think that covered the rest of them. A little bit about, just quickly, the difference between business growth and business management.
Business management is managing what already exists. Business growth is creating new, more. So your SLAP is teaching you how to do business growth. So here's another way to think about it. Doing SLAP, right? The mindset calls, the meets, the silver summits, the things that you do inside of SLAP. SLAP is personal development. SLAP is and strategic thinking. It's sort of like a combo of personal development and strategic thinking. But the actions in your action plan, right? All the campaigns you implement, that's business growth. So the simplest way to think of it is I would want you guys all to be spending a minimum of 10 hours a week implementing the actions in your SLAP, right? Doing the campaign. Every campaign we load into SLAP Center is business growth. It's actions that will allow you to go find and connect with new customers, new revenue, new opportunities. So SLAP, doing your SLAP doesn't take very much time, right? Going to a mindset call once a month, going to a couple meets, right? Logging in once a week. Doing your SLAP is your strategic thinking time and a little bit of professional development. That doesn't actually take, right? I sort of say like SLAP doing SLAP probably takes 3 to 4 or 5 hours a month, depending on how much you engage with. It's not that much. That's your strategic thinking and personal development time budget. But the strategic thinking and the professional development that you get while you're doing your SLAP needs to be fueling you into spending a minimum of 10 hours a week taking action, doing the action items in your SLAP, which is business growth. So the action items your SLAP helps you do, that's business growth. Getting the structure and support of your SLAP expert and this community and the software, right? The strategy, that's strategic thinking and personal development. Does that make sense? Does that resonate? Yeah? Okay. I see, I'm going to do Shar. Before I go to Shar, Lizzie's comment about managing chronic illness, unpredictable chronic illness, this is critical. Some of us live in realities where we have unpredictable reality. You can schedule for that. I know that what I'm saying sounds crazy, but whenever we are going through a particularly chaotic phase of growth at Silver Lining, I block an hour a day that I literally call whatever comes up I can't think of, whatever the emergency of the day is, basically. And I make sure I've got a space every day to manage what I can guess is going to be an unexpected last minute red alert, right? And I know when we're going through phases of crazy growth that there's always this chaos that ensues. And so I can be intentional about making sure I have planned for the chaos that could come. If you're a caregiver and you know that it probably takes about 10 hours a week to care for your mom who's sick, or your dad that's something, or your husband or your wife or your kid or your aunt or whatever it is, but you don't know when they're going to need you. Their doctor's appointments could be moving and chaotic. Block 10 hours a week in your calendar for caregiving, right? I actually think caregiving is a form of community. I'd color that as community. And then make sure that you block everything else around it. And it might move on your calendar, but block it into your time budget. I'm going to probably spend an average of 10 hours a week in caregiving, right? If you're managing a chronic illness, this is a mistake I actually made. I had major surgery in July and I didn't have as much energy as I used to. What I should have done, right, is for the 6 months after surgery, is blocked, 5 hours a week for extra downtime, right? Because I probably was just going to need an extra 5 hours a week but that means that 5 hours has to come from something else, right? So I probably could have and should have been more organized about decreasing my community involvement or decreasing some other commitments so that I had 5 more hours to allocate to care because I was in surgery recovery, right? I didn't. And so what happened? It all got very chaotic. I was overwhelmed. I couldn't get it all done, right? So it's not about saying that we can know perfectly what happens, but we can design truth into our time budget. If managing a chronic illness takes an average of 10 hours a week, no problem. Let's design for that. That might mean that the contribution you're making to community is to take really good care of your health. And it's not the right phase of life to do lots of volunteering or other things, as an example. So I love reality, right? I love reality. Some of the most phenomenal humans I know deal with the most shockingly complicated physical, mental, and family realities, but they're in such deep reality on it that they design truth in their life around it. And they time block for it. And they understand that because that's part of their reality, something else can't be. So there's no right or wrong answer to your time allocation, but I want it to be in reality of the truth of the life you live. And then all of a sudden overwhelm goes away and you can execute against it. Okay, Shar.
Hey, Carissa, I just first of all want to say thank you to you and everyone else. It's been a journey. It's been quite a journey for me from the last X number of years. I won't put a number on it. And I think it was last week or week before last, I was on a call with you. I think it was a strategy call. And you talked about doing a time audit. And for those that don't know me, I'm very dramatic, right? I was like, I don't need to do a time audit. I keep a calendar. My calendar has everything on it. Da 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 da. And then I stopped and I actually looked at the freaking calendar. Bad word, right? And my color for networking with people that I meet on Alignable and all of these online platforms was purple. And my color for clients was green. I probably had like one green and a ton of purple on there.
Yes.
Right. And so what I realized is, wait a minute, I'm doing all this networking and I'm talking to people who I'm not converting into clients. And
Yes.
then right after I did that, I got on a call with someone and they immediately tried to convert me into a client. And I was like, Shar, what are you doing? So I had to figure out the root cause. What was the problem? And I realized I was lonely. I am a solopreneur. I'm unmarried. Y'all don't come breaking into my house. I live by myself, right? And I don't have family here. So I typically am lonely. And I kind of wrote all of this out in chat. I tried to copy it so I could just cheat and put it in my pause and reflects, but I have to go retype.
No, we're going to make you do it again, Shar.
Yeah. But once I realized that, the light bulb went off. And then I think that was my slap moment. I think everybody has a slap moment. That was my slap moment. And then, subsequent to that, I met with Omar and Luke and, just really started talking about what I needed to do. But the real light bulb went off when I realized is I was lonely. So to offset my loneliness, I was spending a ton of time on one-on-one meetings online with people, talking about everything underneath the sun instead of running and operating and growing my business. So I say this to those of you that say, oh, I use a calendar, I use a calendar. The thing is, what's on your calendar? Someone talked in the chat about time management. My sister says you could teach time management, Shar, and she's probably right. But the question is, what was I managing? Was I managing the right thing? So since then, I've been doing a lot more of my time. My revenue hasn't spiked yet, but I've been doing a lot more of my time on my business growth, looking at my slap actions, creating my hit list, creating my love campaign, all of those crazy things that are in there as slap campaigns that I thought I was fine because my calendar was full every day, but I wasn't focused on the right things. I was focused on the I'm feeling lonely thing. So I just want to thank you for that, even though I didn't like you when you said it. And I was mad at you. And I was
Oh,
like,
Char,
you don't know
people
what
are
she's
always so
talking
mad at
about,
me.
Huh?
Everyone's always so mad at me. Welcome to my life. No one wants to talk about these things. We just want to do whatever the F we want and then magically get rich, right? No one wants to talk about structure and discipline and consistency and saying no. Like, that's not the fun stuff. I always say we've got like the worst marketing materials because every single thing we put in the world is like, I'm sorry, like there's no magic answer, and you can't just like go to conferences your whole life and magically succeed, and it's not going to happen fast, and it's not going to be this like magic silver bullet. That's not the deal. That's not how it works. And Shari, you're not the first person that's been very mad at me and not liked what I had to say. So I'm okay. I can handle it.
And let me just say one or two other quick things, and I'll be brief, is that you said learn to say no, and I've heard you say it before. And then an email went out, I think it was the beginning of this week, saying no, 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 say no. And so I was like, okay, I need to say no. And so a cousin called me and was like, can you do this thing for me? And I was like, no, I can't. And I felt so relieved about it. And then, again, looking at my calendar, writing those apology letters, some of them I haven't written yet, but I recognize that I need to write some of those apology letters and say, hey, I know I committed to doing this, but I'm sorry, I can't. So I'm getting it.
Char, I love it. You're saying, you actually articulated it perfectly. That slap moment. We always say that for often. How long have you been in slap, Char? How long?
This will be my 1 year anniversary, give or take,
Yeah.
13 months. And then,
Yes.
I'm the one who my nephew died in the middle of the summer last year.
Oh,
And
I'm so sorry.
so the last half of last year didn't exist for me. So I've had to come back and fight back. And, so when you talk about the world around you, I get it. I got the slap moment. I thought about the fact that I missed Valentine's Day. I missed the Super Bowl because of what I do. I sell merch in addition to other stuff, but I missed those because I didn't realize about the world around me and I didn't prepare for it. So I had my slap moment. So thank you very much.
Honestly, everything you're saying is literal music to my ears because, so just two things I want to pull out for everybody from what Shar said. First of all, thank you, Shar. Change takes time. The slap moment usually comes around the 1 year mark. So when slapsters do like change, it's almost like the first year of slap. It's like learning a new language. There's a lot of resistance. People are mad at me. They don't believe me. They push back. They think it's crazy. And then something happens, like Shar is describing, and they're like, oh, I see it all of a sudden. And then in year two, growth starts to happen a lot more efficiently. Year three, things really start to move. And there is this momentum that happens that Shar is describing. The other thing that you just described, Shar, so perfectly, I'm just going to pull this slide up again for 1.5 seconds. But what you just described perfectly is this concept, right? You actually got your mindset in order first. Because your mindset was in order, you started taking the right actions, right? Now you're taking the right actions. It is a given. This does happen like this. It is science. It's not random, right? What's coming next is more sales. So I always say for so many people, this mindset stuff is the stuff that we resist so much. But when we get it, it automatically aligns our actions. As soon as our actions are aligned, it is fact that they will lead to sales. So, Shar, your journey is really this conversation of over a 13-month period, right? You resisted, fought us, did the right things through small changes over a period of time, despite dramatic external circumstances. You got that mindset, that shift of that slap moment. The slap moment is when someone really gets the mindset stuff. That's what I call the slap moment. When that
And
when that really sinks in, taking the right actions becomes way more straightforward. And if you take the right actions for long enough, you're gonna make more money. There's no way around it. It's just the way it is.
And Carissa, let me just say this as in my last comment. It's almost like it was overnight that I went through the whole month of January and money wasn't hitting my bank account. And that light bulb went on, and I was like, wait a minute. You are your roadblock. You are your obstacle. And if you can just move you out of the way, you say you want to be coached. So do what you're being, shown to do. As soon as I did that, people just started coming to me and coming to me and coming to me. So the mindset is not only internal. I recognize too, it's an external thing because as the Bible says, a man is, I had the phrase, the verse in my head and it lost, but, as a man thinketh, so is he, right? So as I was thinking negatively, I was attracting negative energy, and therefore I was not attracting people who wanted to spend money with me. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
I love it. I just wrote as you're talking, commitment is a choice, right? I cannot make you succeed. All of you can make you succeed. It's a choice. Then profit is a skill you can learn, right? Success is science, right? Which is actually about wrapping support and structure around yourself, accepting the structure and support, right? And then mindset is a muscle, a thing to build all the time. So perfect. If I could write a perfect story of how mindset drives to action and action will drive to sales, it's what we just heard. So thank you. All right, Jennifer, you get the last word. Tell us what you're thinking.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. And first, I wanted to thank Shar as well for what she said, because it was not so long ago that I realized I was trying to fill the social need at work as well. And so scheduling in that social stuff outside of work and finding people outside of that, I connect with that. My first question is just I think it's a quick question. In the list of the time, the way that you break down the time, where do things like household chores, cooking, laundry, that kind of thing fit in?
I put mine, you could definitely create another line for that. So you could design that in. I put that into sort of family, friends, home. I almost think of that family, friends as life, home, life. But you could absolutely, one thing that I had to do in my time budget is because I have to travel so much, transit is actually a shocking amount of my life. And when I see how much time I spend in transit, it's actually very distressing. It's like a wasted life in buses, trains, and planes, trains, planes, and automobiles. So I actually had to start developing a philosophy on how to use transit time. So I do a lot of my strategic thinking in transit, but I only got to that level of being organized when I realized, oh, wow, I'm spending 50 hours a month in transit. I can't just waste that much time. What am I going to do? Right. And I can't really get work done because it's chaotic, but I can think, right? I can sort of turn everything off and just think when I'm in transit. So design the categories that really work for you, that you think, are the truth of your life. But it is very important to acknowledge the time that monotony and mundane tasks take, right? Another dumb one I realized is that my hair is really, I'll show you guys, my hair is really thick. It's embarrassingly large right now because I went swimming in the ocean earlier today to try and get my wellness budget up. So it takes 4 hours for them to highlight it. It takes so long to highlight my hair, and I have to do it once every 2 months. That's so much bloody time in my time budget. My time is very precious. And so things like that. So I put that into my wellness budget. And instead of being stressed about it, I get a matcha latte and I just enjoy it. And I decide I'm going to enjoy my 4 hours at my hair salon. So being really honest about the things that really take time and then deciding how to approach it against, what's going to help your wellness, your profit, or your impact is critical. That's a long answer to your question, Jennifer.
Thanks. And my second one was with the, like you've talked about structure a lot and wrapping yourself in that. And as solo business owners, often finding that external structure so there's SLAP, but beyond that, do you have any kind of thoughts or suggestions?
I do. I think the absolute perfect equation is SLAP. Go to a mindset call more than once a month. So in a perfect world, I would say do a mindset call every 2 weeks. Once a week, if you're in a period of really needing to create a lot of change, I think weekly mindset calls are game changers. To be really intentional and serious, I would do a mindset call every 2 weeks. That's the first thing that I would do. The second thing is I think everyone needs a therapist. I would have a therapist that you talk to once a month in good days and in bad days, good times, bad times, and increase to twice a month if you're struggling. But I will go to a therapist once a month for the rest of my life, forever and ever and ever. Amen. So SLAP with a mindset call twice a month. They're only 20 minutes long. A therapist once a month if things are tough, right? Basically, my rule is if things are tough, double. So in the perfect world, 2 mindset calls a month, 1 therapy call a month. When things are tough, 4 mindset calls a month, 2 therapy calls a month. So that's how I think about it. Like there should be a consistent rhythm and then you double down when it's hard. And then I'm a very big believer of like a couple of friends, not 20, 2 friends that you make a deal with that you can just call at any time, say anything to. And because of how busy, again, I can get, again, the bad word, the busy word, because of how maxed out my time budget is, how many demands I have on my 168 hours a week, I pre-schedule a monthly coffee with my 2 closest friends so that we know that at least once a month and a standing routine, we'll see each other and talk. And we've made an agreement that we're there for each other, that we'll say the things we need to say, we'll hold each other accountable, we'll push each other, we'll prod each other. So that's the equation. And by the way, I don't think it should be more than that because then you spend your whole life in structure and support, right? But 2 20-minute mindset calls a month, 1 therapy call a month, 1 coffee with a friend. Ideally, 1 is okay, 2 is better. And when times are hard, double everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Okay. It is so fabulous to be with all of you guys. I really, 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 really enjoy it. The next long Silver Summit like this is in May. Like we said, it's Profit is a Skill. It's actually going to be 3 hours, not 2.5. And we're going to do some serious work on what it takes to get profitable. So come, that one's going to be really good. And then in the meantime, just so you guys know, I teach 1 strategy meet every month. So basically it's just SLAP strategy. It's in SLAP Center under meets. So if you go filter the meets and you look for strategy meets, I teach 1 every single month, sometimes 2. And then I do an AMA, an Ask Me Anything, once a month on different topics related to behavior change, profit, optimizing performance. So in addition to these long Silver Summits that I do 3 times a year, once in January or February, once in May, once in September, I'm doing at least 2 meets every single month, and they're just 1 hour. They're fun, cheap and cheerful, as I say. 1 AMA, 1 strategy meet. So it is helpful to be in these conversations. I always say everyone that leads meets are amazing. I happen to be extra passionate and I happen to have built the methodology. And so I can sometimes give really direct and clear feedback if that's helpful to you guys. So come to strategy meets, come to the access meet, come find me. I get so much joy being with all of you guys. So thank you for your time. And I really believe that your time is so critical and valuable. So I do very genuinely consider it an honor that we all spent it together. So thank you. I hope that out of this comes action. And of course, I'm just going to end by saying this was a waste of your life if something does not happen differently than it would have happened 2.5 hours ago. So accept the accountability for whatever intervention you committed to, right? Step stage 1, 2, 3, 4, calendar audit, tweaking of priorities, right? But leave here and do something different than you would have done if you didn't spend these 2.5 hours here today. Do the intervention you got to clarity on. That's the practice of the mindset muscle, right? Awareness is useless without action. So take the awareness and tweak, right? Change and success happens. Small tweaks and small modifications to behavior over and over and over and over again over a sustained period of time. So do one more tweak with the information that we had today. One more tweak. And that tweak won't solve everything, but it will move you one step closer, one tweak closer to that performance that you want. All right, my friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To be continued.